Well, good morning and welcome. My name is Joanne Quinn, and I'm a school psychologist. And for the past 5 years, I've been a member of the Family Involvement Center Board of Directors. This year, I'm the board president. I'm honored to be here and delighted that you've joined us for a special reunion, a celebration of the 10-year legacy that family leadership has been happening in Arizona, and you've been a part of making that happen. First and foremost, a big thank you to the Family Involvement Center staff and planning committee for all their hard work and efforts to make this event possible. The venue is really beautiful. I've never been to the Biltmore before, and it really adds to the celebratory effect, don't you think? Balloons and candy tables, a beautiful flower arrangements. It looks wonderful. The planning committee wanted to pamper you, and I think they've done that. The agenda promises to be interesting and active. No boring speeches, save this one. Most of the day has been set aside for your participation so that you can reconnect with friends and colleagues, reminisce about the past, and maybe peek into the future. We look forward to a delicious lunch around noon, and then events will continue on until about 2. The last event planned is the raffle, so stick around. The prizes are really good. I feel privileged to be with you here today, the parents and family members at this time, because it's the 10-year anniversary of a vision that helped transform service delivery, not only in behavioral health and education, but now with the integrated health approach. Finally, medicine is kind of getting on board. About time. Can you believe that family support partners have been extolling the vision and making a difference in the lives of children for the past 10 years? Because at the helm has been one insightful, passionate leader who would not let the vision burn out. Not when the vision met with roadblocks, funding difficulties, systemic bureaucracy. And you also believe it because you've been working tirelessly and passionately for families year after year. The vision that developed and sustained some supports and services at the Family Involvement Center were exceedingly simple: to ask families receiving services what they needed to better support their children and loved ones. The vision was to ask how families could better know and navigate the various systems to get the services they needed. The vision was to support family members and their children in their journey, and then it was to support those family members to become leaders and help others in their journey. Quite simply, the vision was to put families first at the center of the process and to empower them when dealing with challenges. And boy, have we done that. And who better to lead the way than one who's walked the walk? And at the beginning, that was Jane Kaplan. Jane has walked the walk for more than 10 years, and she's walked it graciously, passionately, generously, boldly, sometimes carefully. In my mind, Jane epitomizes family support, and she's become the voice for the family, not only in Maricopa County, but in Arizona, and also in the United States. More importantly, she's become the voice in the community, where it counts the most. In my mind, Jane has been my support partner for the past 15 years. And I know a lot of you think that she's been yours, but she's just that bright and passionate about sharing her vision that she's made believers and partners out of all of us. Since this is a reunion, a little history about myself and how I came to know Jane and be involved with the Family Involvement Center seems appropriate. More than 20 years ago, I was involved with a school district that became one of the first fully inclusive school districts in all of North America. That was back in Canada, and it was truly an exciting time. A time that required a paradigm shift, and I was lucky to be associated with a district and a leader who showed courage and inspiration And he made inclusion happen on an enormous scale with 50 schools in 5 different communities. I mention this because I think inclusion was the beginning of the family involvement in a systemic way in many systems. Our leader had a vision that placed children at the center of the process, of every process in the education
Can you get a clear
system.
shot of the speaker?
That simple mind-changing vision built learning communities where everyone participated based on their strengths. We were ready then. And we did. We shifted special education from that segregated medical model that based its IEP goals on fixing deficiencies with separate and isolated therapies in the back 40. We became an inclusive, wraparound, circle of friends approach where all people, professional and personal, who touched the child's life was invited in to give input on how to improve life and learning. When rolling out the plan, the leader provided educational in-service and support not only to teachers but community leaders and all the educational staff. So that was the secretaries, the bus drivers, the paraprofessionals, and most importantly, the families. Before rolling out any plan, the leader met with parents and families to ask what it is that they wanted, what could happen to make change, and what would improve the education for their children. This inclusive approach was really key to its success. Now, inclusive leadership has taught me many lessons, not the least of which is that small things do count, and small things can change your life. For example, you could have access to the best therapist in the city or the country, but if you don't have transportation to get to the sessions, what good is it? And perhaps the relationship that you have with the bus driver to take you to therapy is better than the one you have with the therapist. Right? So looking at the big picture while taking stock of the small things that comprise the big picture was an important lesson. Looking for natural and sustainable supports everywhere and anywhere you could find them is an important tenet of inclusion. Now from that inclusive community, I moved to San Jose, California, and there I worked at the Campbell School District for 3 years. I was lucky again to work with forward thinking, paradigm-shifting folks, and then those seeds of inclusion just fell on that fertile soil. I was working closely with an elementary school principal and family leaders, and we developed a school where community services were provided right on the campus. And that was mental health services, medical services, and dental services right on the campus. So that was a revolutionary idea back before the 90s, and a gratifying time for students and their families. In 1995, I moved to Arizona, where I started working at Tempe High School. And this is where I began my relationship with Jane and her daughter, Kim. And with their permission, I share a little bit about the beginning. Jean made a phone call to set up an appointment with the Special Education Department Chair, Richard Torres, and myself. Now, Jane's recollection of this meeting is a little more glossy, I think, than mine, because it goes something along the lines of, "You had me at hello." You know that famous line from Jerry Maguire? Well, apparently we had Jane at, "How can we help you and your daughter?" Now, Jane was at a loss for words, which if you know her is a rarity. She said she was at a loss because no one in education had ever just asked her, "How can we help you and your daughter?" We explained that she knew her daughter best. She knew what had worked in the past and what hadn't, and we thought that was a good starting point. And it was. Not only did I find Jane to be a patient and loving parent, I found her to be a great source of information and a great problem solver. After a meeting, or sometimes before, Jane would start with that giggle that she has and say, "Oh, by the way," or another one of her stock phrases, "Just so you know, I did a little research." And then she'd answer an article. Or say, "Could I bring someone, my advocate, with me? Or could we talk with so-and-so on the phone, set up a phone conference?" Sharing resources, along with doing all the work behind the scenes, was one of Jane's specialties. I started asking Jane if I could give her name and number to other parents to share the information. And of course, she said yes. So sometimes I started to think, I had to question who was helping who, right? And isn't that great? And isn't that the way it's supposed to be? Collaboration, strength-based planning, respecting each other's unique contribution, sharing resources. Our mutual respect and trust developed into a working relationship that focused on her daughter. When you stay child-focused, you get rid of the politics and the minutiae that weigh you down, the details that aren't really necessary to get a team focused on what works and what matters. But I don't need to tell you folks that, do I? This is what you do, this is what you live for, this is what you're good at. Bringing different perspectives to bear in important ways for children and families, and finding solutions in that collaboration. There were times when we needed to coordinate with other professionals in other systems, and the dedication and patience that Jane demonstrated, and tenacity too. You know that she won't let it go. That was all helpful in getting kids' needs met. In one of our long, extended conversations in the parking lot, and if you know Jane, I'm sure you've had a few of those, the parking lot talker, Jane was apologizing for advocating so strongly for her. And I remember saying that someone has to be the advocate if you want change to happen. And the best advocate is someone who is committed, vested, and has a personal interest in the outcome. She had learned so much on her journey, and I said, you have so much to teach others, not only other parents and families, but professionals too, that please don't return to corporate America. Jane, being the good kid that she is, and having found her calling, went right out and got that job at Raising Special Kids. And it was at Raising Special Kids that she found where she met many of you. It's still in her circle of friends today. It was where she honed her skills, developed her vision, and built her community. After a few years, Jane decided to attempt transformation from the inside out and went to Value Options. It was at Value Options that she became involved with a pilot program funded by St. Luke's Initiative. And that's sort of where the seeds germinated. Wraparound was starting to be the new buzzword. John Vandenberg and his crew were making the rounds, planting the seeds of system transformation. Transformation that placed the child in the center and proposed that parents and families were partners in all processes. The term CFT started to appear at child and family teams. They became a part of the behavioral health vernacular and eventually became a reality. So the seeds of the Family Involvement Center germinated. And germinated they did. From careful listening, programs and services were developed that were essential to meet the family's needs. Family education programs were considered essential because empowerment only happens when people have knowledge, and families needed knowledge, first and foremost. But the Family Involvement Center also went a step further because they reduced barriers to getting that knowledge. They thought about providing child care, transportation, and food, so that by listening to parents and taking care of the small details, they were able to ensure the big picture outcome. Educational services were taught by you, by parents who walked a similar journey. The shared experience lends so much authenticity to learning and reduces the feelings of isolation so greatly that therapeutic value cannot really be measured, as you know. Support groups led by you gave families a safe place to talk about their challenges without feeling judged. And the connections that they made with other families often survived long after the group disbanded. Making connections more naturally and authentically sustained these relationships. I've heard from more parents than I can count in my 30 years, but that these workshops and support groups were more informative and life-changing than any therapy that they or their children had had. You as the parents shared the behavioral health system and how it worked so that new families could learn what services were available and what services to ask for. Many of the programs at the Family Involvement Center, strengthening multi-ethnic families and communities, had powerful impacts on discipline, family relationships. The family and youth involvement in the system of change, it gave information, and it groomed many family leaders that are still here today and working in the field. and the parent-to-parent support telephone support that was provided in English and Spanish has really reduced the crises for families in Maricopa. It provided information about a variety of sources where parents could make one-stop sort of shopping and know about probation, the court system, special education, access enrollment, and community resources. Knowledge that is critical to empowerment. And last but not certainly least, the direct service providers are simply unmatched. Parent partners and youth mentors that provided short-term support proved to be some of the most therapeutic experience that many families and youth report. Without my parent partner or youth mentor, I would never have known what to ask for, never had the courage to ask for, never expressed my need, never disagreed with the IEP or the service plan or the doctor or therapist or case manager. So this is really empowerment at its best, and you folks are responsible for it. In the last 10 years, I've seen the needs of parents more clearly recognized, not only in the provider networks and the REBA, and the Department of Health, and schools. Important inroads have been made by you, and while there's still gaps in the services that we provide, especially in the funding realm, we've come a long way. I really challenge you today to continue your good work, to keep advocating, to keep the vision burning brightly, and to support, as you do, family choice and voice. Knowledge is power, and experience is the most powerful kind of knowledge. Please continue to share your experiences so that we can all grow into an inclusive and integrated community where everyone's unique needs are shared, supported, and strengths are valued. And remember Margaret Mead's words: never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed people can change the world. Indeed, is the only thing that ever has. Thank you for coming today. Enjoy your day. And thank you for the opportunity to express my appreciation for all that you do. Thank you. I get myself together. Joanne, I think, really covered how we got where we are today. I think 80 of us sitting in this room, we're all through the community, we're all doing different things, but we are building the legacy of the parent and family movement. And I do have to really take a minute and describe that I don't think I would have ever been here, Vic, or any of our connections had it not been for meeting with Joanne in, I guess it was 1995. I think my daughter would attest to this. We were so discouraged with so many, Kim, can you raise your hand in case they don't know you? We were so discouraged with things, working so hard all the time, that systems that don't understand and everything. And the part that she did share in the story was that, yes, that first meeting was like something I never imagined. But you know what I did? I ran out and got an advocate right away. Because I said, this can't be real. And the advocate came along to 2 meetings, and she was, some of you may know her, Jill McCullough-Gailey. And she was pretty sophisticated and, had worked in the school systems and did things like that, and, raising her child herself. And she stopped the meeting, the second meeting, and said, I don't know why I'm here, but I wish I had a tape recorder. She said, I work in school districts all the time, and I've never seen a group that comes here and says, how can we work with you and your child? And the other part was, I can't explain how much this meant to me. They made Kim in any way that Kim wanted to lead her plan. And Kim didn't have an IEP or anything.
and she just, they gave her what's important to you, Kim, and how you want to get there. And that probably was one of the best things about that. And so what as she described, it did allow me, well, I had so much faith in Kim was enjoying school in a way that she never had. So it did give me time to sort of like think, well, what do I know and what do I do? And my life had been, you know, working, trying to get things in schools and all that. So raising special kids looked like a pretty good place to go. So that's the history. And it is the reason that I'm here today, and we're all here. I mean, in my life, somebody else would have done it. I think, you know, I can see all of you, many of you were feeling the same way 10 years. And somebody would have ended up in Tempe High School, or there's a few others that have school psychologists with wraparound background and everything. But I believe that everything is meant to be. And anyway, I'm not going to spend this, I wanted to start this off with, no, there's not going to be speeches other than that very good opening there. This is a day about us reflecting and sharing memories. And when I think about what we've done, it's just a blur. I mean, what you've all done everywhere. And that is how we have shaped our day. About you see, we have a videographer here, two of them, right? What's your name again?
Richard.
Richard.
Edgar.
Edgar. And the photographer right here. And we're going to capture pictures, things like that for the future. And we're going to tell, you know, shape a story, and we're going to do something with it for the legacy. And you're going to get invited back to some other ways of helping us create that, some kind of a video or something. But the essence of what everybody has been doing and how they've been involved. And before I go any further, though, I have to point out and introduce someone that really came before me and is not in the pictures because I don't think we were that organized back 10 years ago. I didn't know that you could build a family-run organization. I hadn't thought like that. Joanne's right, I had a vision, but I didn't really know how would you ever make that happen. And it was mentioned earlier that St. Louis Health Initiatives had seen something in what we were proposing and what the Jason K. lawsuit was going to bring. And I had the very, very good fortune to have a mentor and advisor, and she's here in the room today, and I'd like to have her stand up and give her all applause because she is who gave me the ideas. She came from New York State where they were 10 years ahead of us, and she was that visionary and I won't use it here, but she started a family-run organization there. Jenny, would you mind standing up and just say a few words? Hey, Arizona is nothing like New York. And I still agree.
It's wonderful to, I said to Jenny, 10 years, it can't be possible. A few words. Let me just say that one of the things that I've learned, I'm going to be 73 years old this year. And one of the things I've done in my over 30 years of getting services for my son, who is in a group home here in Arizona now, he's also an adult. So just like Jane and her friend was talking earlier, all of us come through this with the personal advocacy we fight for our own children. So if I can say anything today is in terms of all my engagement with financing and policy and kicking ass and all the kinds of things you do in state and local government. What I would urge everyone here, I'm involved now with a campaign with the Arizona Republic paper. For those of you who read the paper, the Lori Roberts, who fights like hell for kids and the elderly, has a campaign, and I have my button on, to decoup the Capitol. And what that means is to make our legislators more moderate as opposed to right or left. So if any of you are citizens and you aren't registered to vote, what I've decided is, even in getting to know and working at a policy level, where it comes to is one-on-one with your elected officials. And so to engage with the paper now And so if anyone wants to join the campaign, just go to the Arizona Republic and look up Decoup the Capital. Because what I've decided is, you know, we've got two battles coming up. We've got to get a moderation going on, and we've got to move from a medical system into a social necessary system. And Medicaid is really where it's at. As you know, most of what's happening here is funded with Medicaid dollars. And I'm going to talk to Jane about this. There's a coalition that's developing, a huge coalition, and it's Medicaid, medical professionals, business-minded folks. And they're going to design, what they're trying to fight for is expanded Medicaid, which is what we want. We want expanded Medicaid. But I don't know who's on the coalition. I don't know who the family members are. I don't even know if they're existing. But those are two things to kind of, I know our time is limited in terms of caring for our loved ones and for the work you do, helping other parents to come into this, to get support, information, education, advocacy. So what I would urge you to do is, if you're not registered, to register, take an interest in Medicaid if you want to in terms of the coalition. If anyone wants to talk to me a little bit about the campaign that the paper's running or anything to do with Medicaid, I'm more than willing to have a chat with you. And I'm also willing to kind of help you along in that educational, because I've had the luxury of working with some of the national pros on Medicaid. So I want to tell you it's a joy to be here. I can't say any more.
Thank you. Really closely for probably a year and a half or 2 years before the structure started to come to have parent roles and leadership. And she stuck with me for about another 3 years. And she, I think, knew it was kind of, we've been launched and we had to carry on. And her and I interact sometimes at the national level, but we don't talk often enough, and this is news to me about her new involvement, and it just fits, and she's really good at the timing of everything too. So, Jenny, I'm glad you brought that to our attention, and I see Krista over there sitting, taking copious notes, and because Krista, I don't know, maybe there's another person there too in here that really is really on top of all the legislative and all those things, and Krista's been doing a lot to help keep us all aware, and she's in a lot of things that I haven't even come close to touching. So that's kind of what I wanted to say too. The talents we have here, the knowledge, the expertise. That's why this, some of you thought this was going to be a training or some kind of education. The knowledge that you bring is your own personal experience and what you've learned navigating systems and making our community a better place. And so there's no need for trainings here or anything. This is about sharing and reflecting today. And so with that said, I'm not going to go very much farther other than I want to acknowledge that we have people in here that have 10 years of history being active, to, I think, some people that I've heard just starting in the work as a parent partner or serving on committees or something, and they've only been around a month or two. And but I think everybody will be re-energized at the end of this day, and you know you're not alone. And there were probably maybe 10 people in pictures there today that had signed on to come, but family emergencies and things like that. So. But what I'm saying is our community is strong, and there's probably another 40 or 50 people that have been real active, and we miss them. And I don't know, we're going to do something with this video and share it, and maybe we'll get copies made for all of you. I don't know. Or we'll try to track down all the names. But we just kind of take it a day at a time, and I think that's what you guys do in your family life and your job too.
Well, I'm just absolutely honored to be here. I oftentimes say that as a professional, I am the professional that I am today because back in the 80s, I had family members that helped me discover that I had claims, and they face planted me. They held me accountable as a worker and helped form who I am as a worker. So it's an honor to be with you. One of the things that, if you haven't picked up, there's a theme of story. And one of the important things in our world. And we can look at cultures all around the world. Storytelling is huge because it makes the invisible visible. Okay? So you have 10 years of moving things along. And we need your help. Once again, we turn to you. Because at the end of this year, what Jane and the committee would like to do is there's going to be a gathering with kind of folks like me, professionals, the funders, people like that. And what they would like to do is have a graphic timeline about parent leadership over the past 10 years. So, to that end, there are some things for you to do today. First of all, fun stuff. Photo booth, you heard about the photographer, the videographer, candy table, I think people discovered that. There would be raffle prizes, but you know, that kind of stuff. So that's fun. And your table's talking to people. If it's quiet around here, I'm going to be really upset with y'all because there needs to be noise. Okay? Second thing, Jane wanted everyone to sign in. So we have a banner over there. Parent Leaders Reunion. Okay? So there are markers, sign your name however you would like, but please sign in because that's going to go up on the wall somewhere. Then, this is my need. You can see that we've created some panels. And you've gotten, I believe, some communication about thinking about positive memories, things you're grateful for, and your hopes for the future. So what I've created here is the first panel is memories, and you can see it's black and white. Okay? And it begins to gain some color. When you have some time, over lunch, you're having a conversation with someone, there are loads of markers up there. You get to write on the wall and no one's going to yell at you. So we'd like you to write some positive memories. We're trying to capture things, okay? Gratitude. What are you grateful for today? This year. Not 10 years ago, not 5 years ago, today. Because we do know that we need to have more gratitude in this world. It shifts the energy. You all know that. You've experienced that. And so that's that middle panel. And then the final panel is what are some hopes you have for the future? When you think of parent leadership, when you think of this system, what hopes do you have? We're trying to capture that because that will inform the story. And that will be an incredibly important piece to include for all those folks. And so you can see that we have a camera with some film, and the hopes fade out because they haven't happened yet. Okay? And then you see my rudimentary attempt at showing an old-time film projector. And what we're doing then is you can see I have 10 years up there. Fiscal year 2, 3, all the way up to 11, 12. And what we're going to do is you have the freedom. I'm going to be working on that during lunch and stuff like that, putting some pivotal events. But you know, there's collective knowledge in this room. And I don't know about you, but I'm having Swiss cheese brain some days. I don't retain stuff. So we need, if you have something that was a real pivotal thing in your experience, maybe you were the first family support partner hired in the entire state. Put it up there. Kind of put it within the time frame. If you don't want to write on the panel, I have Post-it notes. You kind of write on those and just slap them up. Okay? Because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all of this and who knows how it's going to work. I may end up with 20 feet. We're going to create a panel, try to capture the history of parent leadership in graphics. Okay? Who knows if we can accomplish this endeavor? We'll give it a jolly good try. And I think that's probably it, other than a deep sense of gratitude for everything that you do. I now teach at the community college, and the lessons that I've learned from you profoundly inform how I deal with my students. So thank you. I hope you have a wonderful day.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kim, as many of you already know, aka Jane's daughter. At this time, I'd like to take some time to talk to you about my mom. Many of you know that Jane has dedicated so much of her time to help create and sustain the family movement in Arizona. Before founding the Family Involvement Center in September 2002, my mom, as well as all of you wonderful people in attendance today, have been support system for your children their entire life. When I was in the 3rd grade, our journey down this behavioral health roller coaster started. Throughout the years, my mom has been there, holding my hand through the most difficult times and at the best of times. That's what mothers and fathers of children do. They never stop loving their children, no matter how scary the road seems. Throughout the years, my mom has taught me so many valuable lessons. 2 examples that come to mind right away are to be my own advocate and how to reach out for help during difficult times. I would like to honor my mom at this time by presenting her with a gift. Representing the gratitude many in this room feel towards her, the Family Involvement Center has fostered hope and opportunities for parents to find their voice and realization that parents have the power to influence policy transformation at the state and national levels. And there's instructions outside. If you all could maybe sign it. They're pretty small, so we can get everybody on there. But it's going to be engraved and have a picture of my mother in the middle. Thank you.
I have to say, Kim is really charting her own journey. She's leading them. It's wonderful. Thank you. This is about you, but I guess it's okay too.